I did political science at Willamette University and spent some time sort of watching the Capitol building. There is a political history in my family, and I think those kind of came together. A friend, F.F. Monty Montgomery, was going to be the Speaker of the House. He said, "I want you to be my chief assistant for the 1965 session of the legislature." And I did that in the 65 session and the 67 session. And there was this interim in between where if you're staff, there's no income. You go do something else. So I decided that being a lobbyist was a better way to make a living for my family. A lobbyist really does two things. One is to take new ideas, new legislation to legislators and say you should sponsor this bill. The other thing they do is go to legislators and say, "Don't support that bill, it is bad." A legislator, maybe not in the first month, but over time will figure out that the reliable lobbyist is the source of information and facts that they don't have, and that's the place to get them. And so I was always comfortable about carrying facts around with me and sharing them with people who cared enough to listen. If you give somebody information that is incorrect, a statistic or anything, and you find out that you made a mistake, you don't walk to their office to talk to them about it. You run to their office to talk to them about it, because your personal credibility is the most significant thing that you have in the legislative process. And you give people errors or things that are not factual, your name is mud. My experience, at least, was to accept the fact that people had opinions, and they're entitled to their opinions, and they don't always agree with mine, but hopefully I can find enough people agree to mine that I will get my bill passed. The first bill that I did in the legislature of any substance was a bill for construction contractors, making them responsible to the people that worked for them and for the work that they did for others. That bill required a license to do construction contracting work and required that you have a bond. And if you did a bad job or didn't pay your employees or something, they could claim that you can't say, "I'm broke, I can't do anything." Why, the bond company paid. And as I used those arguments that it protects both the employees of the contractor and the customers of the contractor, and there's no reason not to like it, those points got the bill ultimately through the House of Representatives and the Senate. And of course, it was signed by the governor. That bill had a provision in it that you could buy a house and you had 3 days that you could then say, I don't want the house. And savings and loan associations were a major source of their business, was to loan money to people to build houses. And they ceased loaning money to build houses because of this 3-day rescission period, a legislation that shuts down residential construction affects a lot of people. Ultimately, we had a special session of the legislature to change law that the Homebuilders Association wanted changed. To the best of my knowledge, that was the only case so far in history where a lobby group got a special session of the legislature to fix a problem. After the day of the special session, why they started loaning money again, and the housing industry went back to work. Corporations in Oregon were prohibited from making campaign contributions, and there were folks who believed that we should place a limit on the amount on individual contributions to campaigns. And we had a meeting of lobbyists about that, and we brought in a lawyer who said we ought to sue over the placement of a limitation on campaign contributions. He said, I want to file a suit. We need some money, and I need a plaintiff, somebody who will put their name on this issue. And I said, I'll do it. And I became the fundraiser and the plaintiff in the case. The issue before the court was, can you put a statutory limit on campaign contributions? The judges said money spent on campaigns is speech, and we believe in free speech, and if we believe in free speech, that means you can do free contributions. That action declared it then unconstitutional, the law that said a business could not give campaign money to a candidate. I love it when we have these programs in the Capitol building that bring the little children in, because someday, if they stay in Oregon, that building is going to be very important to them. And I'm happy to be able to participate in their learning about the building. Government has a lot of control over one's life, and it also affects your education. It is your safety and security, and it needs to function well, and that means that good people have to be elected and occasionally educated about what the issues are. And it's a simple fact of life that that everybody needs to realize. And the Capitol building is where those critical decisions are made. I tell people I spent 40 years in that building under the brass man, indoors and out of the rain. It's very simple in my mind.